I'm Heather from Here Booktubes, and today is my October wrap-up. I read 48 books in October. I DNF'd 6, and I'm going to talk about 42. Don't worry, several are in series and several are novellas, so hopefully we're going to get through this quickly while still giving you an idea of if you'll love the book or not. First off, I read The Queen of Attolia. This was a reread for me. It's the second in the Queen's Thief series by Whalen Turner. This is a young adult fantasy series. It is my favorite of all time. And this one, we continue to follow Jen from the first book and also the escalation between the different countries as war comes to the land. And there's quite a few twists. And there are some things that just you didn't see on page at all, so they do kind of come out of left field, but play a big part in the rest of the series, and I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. Next, I read 30 Day Boyfriend by Whitney G. I gave this 5 stars. It is a novella. This is a grumpy boss becomes her fake fiance. It's low on smut, and it is very quick. Next, I read The Magic of Discovery by Britt Andrews. This is her debut novel. I gave it 4 stars. It's a fantasy/paranormal reverse harem book, and I was considering DNFing it. I was not that invested, and then 30% hit and we got our first smutty scene, and it was just so good, and all of the smutty scenes in this book were top notch, just amazing. So I recommend reading for that alone, honestly. So basically our main character is a green witch and our guys are on a secret mission that she just doesn't know about, and I saw the twist coming 100%. Again, I almost don't even care about the plot. The smut was just so good. You should read it for the smut. Next, I read Wicked Brat by Aria and Mila Crawford. I gave this 4 stars. It is a Halloween romance. It's a step-uncle-niece age gap, and it's just the costume is basically the Halloween content. And they have 7 years of unprotected sex before they have a baby in the epilogue. And that is a infertility issue, and it wasn't addressed like that. And I just honestly thought that was very weird. Next, I read Halloween with the Hunk, which is Holiday Studs. Number 1 by Jewel Killian. I gave this 3 stars. It was not great pacing. It didn't make a lot of sense. And it is her having a fling with the lumberjack that lives next door to her rental. Next, I read The Princess is Chosen, which is Inheritance of Hunger number 2 by Kathryn Moon. I gave this 5 stars. This is a fantasy reverse harem, and it is about the crown princess who lacks the hunger, which is the magical sexual appetite of the ruling family and is necessary to rule. And it's her falling in love and finding her magic and dealing with political intrigue, and her guys are amazing and they're not perfect, but also she stands up to them, and I really enjoyed it. The second book was just as good as the first book. I got some things that I really wanted to happen. For a second book, it was really a nice balance of plot and relationship stuff, so highly recommend. Next, I read My Husband, My Stalker by Jessa Kane. I gave this 3 stars. It's just as crazy as it sounds. It's daddy kink. A hitman becomes obsessed with the kidnapping victim when he sees her on the TV and basically inserts himself into her life so that he'll become her husband without her ever finding out that he already knew about her or is obsessed or is a hitman or any of the things. Next, I read Teach Me by Alexandria House. I gave this one 3 stars. It was not my favorite. I did really enjoy the couple. I liked his dominance. I liked a bunch of their dynamics. She changed everything about her for something that happened 10 years ago. There was not great communication in this book, and I also was not a huge fan of the family and friends. I thought a lot of their dynamics, a lot of the things that they were doing, a lot of the things they said to her were weird and unnecessary. This is tied in to the McLean Brothers series. The uncle in that series, who's wild and crazy, is actually her dad. So she is the product of an affair, and he'd never been involved in her life. He does get involved in her life now, but she's like 29, and honestly, I was not impressed. Next, I read Under His Spell by Mink. I gave this 3 stars. This is another Halloween novella, although it was not Halloween-y at all. There were ghosts involved, and she is a ghost hunter, and he kind of sets it up so that she will come to his house, and he plans on keeping her and loving her and all the things. And there are real ghosts, and that's a big plot of the book, but it wasn't great. Mink's books, it's a virgin, naive heroine, and a very alpha man. Next, I read Cruel Paradise, which is Beautifully Cruel #2 by J.T. Geissinger. I gave this 5 stars. We are introduced to this character in the first book of the series, although Lacey from Lacey's Book Lovers said that he's actually a character in a different series that this series is a spinoff of, but I haven't read that series. But we do see him in the first book. Our main character is new to us. He's the head of the mafia, and she is the pretty thief that steals from him and gets his attention. Next, I read A Lesson in Blackmail. This 5 stars. It was my favorite book of the month. So we have an alpha male student. He's 18. His family founded the school. They own the school. He's very powerful. He can do whatever he wants. And then we have a 22-year-old school librarian. This is her first job out of college. She is very submissive and timid by nature. And she is actually an experienced submissive in a BDSM club. And he is a little bit obsessed with her, and he intimidates her a little bit. He stares at her a lot, will make comments, nothing mean, but he definitely intimidates her. Well, he's becoming obsessed with her, and he decides to go to her house and see what she's doing, and she is leaving. So he follows her to the BDSM club. She gets there early, so nobody's at the door, so he's able to follow her in. He sees what's going on. He tells her to go home, and he's going to follow her. He's actually very kind and very caring and really cares for her, but also is an 18-year-old dominant personality who's trying to get what he wants, and maybe he's not going about everything in the best way, but honestly makes up for all of that. So it is using BDSM as a therapy for anxiety and OCD, as well as just because you enjoy the lifestyle, and it is so good. All the things that you're like, that's not the greatest, safest thing, gets addressed, and I love their dynamic. He's very dominant, but doesn't know anything about BDSM. She's very submissive. So even though she's 22 and he's 18 and he's a student, he's very much the aggressor, very much the dominant. She, because of her anxiety, doesn't like to make decisions, has trouble making decisions. So really wants more than just the scenes at the club, which is all that she has right now. She really wants a full lifestyle of it, and I thought they had a very cute, healthy relationship, and I loved it. Next, I read A Tale of Two Cities, which is the Halloween novella by Alexandra Warren. I gave this book 4 stars. There's a bachelorette party in Vegas, and they go to a haunted house, and there's a costume party, and it's 2 people from 2 different cities who meet and fall in love, and we don't necessarily get the HEA. They're still long distance, but we do know that they plan on working it out. Next, I read Their Girls Halloween by Penny Wynter. This I gave 4 stars. It was nothing but smut, super hot, kinky smut. Definitely BDSM, and if you're not already into kind of the name calling as part of your sexy times and the punishments and things like that, there was like 0 communication about that in this book. Also a menage between 3 roommates, but like 0 communication. So there is that. If you just want hot, kinky smut, then it's a good time. Next, I read Hate, which is Madison Kate #1 by Tate James. I gave this book 5 stars. It is kind of a enemies to lovers / bully reverse harem, and everything goes down on Halloween, and basically they ruined her life and she's out to get revenge, and unbeknownst to her, she's actually going to be living with them. This series really walks the line between addicting and annoying, and I have found it addicting, but also there's parts that are annoying and I'm just like, why? And I can definitely see why somebody else would fall on the annoying side. There's a lot of things that you're just like, somebody's trying to kill you. You are being so dumb right now. And then later on in the next book, or later in that book, they'll be like, oh, I feel so stupid. And it's like, yeah, no joke. You are being an idiot. I read the next book, which is Liar. I gave it 5 stars. And I read the next book, which is Fake. I gave it 4 stars. And while I'm filming this, the final book came out on Halloween, and I am currently reading it. Next, I read Sanctuary, a noir immortal story by Alexandria House. I gave it 4 stars. It's super short, like 70 pages. It is a second chance African immortal paranormal romance. And I did mess up my expectations a little bit, and I really wanted an African vampire story. That's not what we got, but it was still really good. Just know it's about an African immortal. It's not about any other paranormal creatures. Next, I read The Favor by Suzanne Wright. I gave this 5 stars. It is a contemporary, and it is a marriage of convenience with your grumpy boss. And she doesn't know that he actually cares about her till almost all the way at the end of the book, and we only get her point of view. I did really enjoy it. Want a great boss marriage of convenience book. This one is a good time. Next, I read Given to the Gladiator by Olivia T. Turner. This is a over-the-top alpha virgin smutty novella. I gave it 4 stars. You want to read about a virgin slave being given to a gladiator? That's what this story is. Next, I read Bewitching You, a Maple Grove Halloween romance by Katana Collins. This was my favorite Halloween book that I read. I gave it 5 stars. There's a romance between our main character and her ex-boyfriend's best friend, and you do get both of their points of views. He's a pumpkin farmer, she runs a candy store, and there's lots of fall activities in this book and really cute, sweet romance. Next, I read King of Lies, which is Empire of Lies #1 by Whitney G. I gave this book 4 stars. I definitely think that you need to continue the series. I haven't yet, but I definitely think you need to continue the series to really appreciate everything that you read in the first book. And I also think that the things that we read in the first book are not necessarily going to be what we think that they are in future books, if that makes sense. So basically, her husband kidnapped her and is keeping her, and we go back to all of the beginning of their relationship. And, you know, she hates him, he lied to her, and I think we're going to find out that he's not the only liar and not everything is as it seems. I definitely saw the twist coming. I guessed it correctly. Wasn't motivated to pick up the next one, but I do think that things might change if I were to pick up the next one, if that makes sense. Next, I read Hes All In by Ella Good. I gave this 3 stars. This is a continuation of her FU High series. However, it's with a whole different group of people, and it is during the time of quarantine. So they're doing virtual learning, there's a pandemic, these 3 best friends are hanging out still, and both the best friends are in love with her. She's both of their best friends, and it's her trying to have a relationship with one, while the affections of the other one being the main conflict of the book. Next, I read The Headmaster by Tiffany Rise. I gave this 5 stars. It was so amazing. If you watch my vlog, then you already know this. It is a charming, atmospheric story about a private academy. She's the new English teacher, and she's going to have a romance with the headmaster. It is a very happy, charming book. There is one very emotional, heart-wrenching twist. The twist, not a big deal. Definitely saw that coming. You can kind of figure that out, I feel like. It was the why behind it that just made me so sad. And then it was like, oh, now we're happy. We're going to live together forever. Yay, us. And the book was ended. And I was like, but you just ripped my heart out. So I will definitely reread this book. I think you should read it. It's amazing. But it did make me cry. Next, I read Pumpkin Everything in Autumn Burrow. Sweet Romance #1 by Beth Labonte. I gave this 3 stars. It's more women's fiction. It's a second chance romance in the fall capital of the world. There's no smut. The main character managed to be selfless and annoyingly self-absorbed at the same time, and I just didn't enjoy it. Next, I read Sweet Liar, which is Sweet and Dirty Duet #1 by Lauren Lynn Page. I gave this 4 stars. It's a very abrupt beginning. This is characters that are featured in other of her series. I have read those series. I still thought it was a very abrupt beginning. So we kind of start with them in the car together. We don't see them meeting. We don't see the things happening with the other characters. It's just very abrupt. Basically, it's her sister's boss's boss, that type of thing. And she's seducing him. He's significantly older than she is. He doesn't believe in love. She does. And we end the book with them parting ways. And obviously it's a duet. There's no big blow up. It's just them parting ways. And I haven't picked up the second book yet. Next, I read Primed by Lena Lucas. I give this 4 stars. It's 40 pages. It's all smut. It's very possessive alpha and the girl that he's been in love with for a long time. Next, I read Gypsy Blood, which is All the Pretty Monsters #1 by Christy Cunning. I gave it 5 stars. And then I read the next 2 books, which are Gypsy Freak and Gypsy Origins. I gave both of those 5 stars also. There's still 4 books to go in the series, so I did take a break in binging it, but I will be continuing very soon. Loving it. So we have a gypsy as our main character, and it's a reverse harem with a vampire, a werewolf, a unknown sexual deviant paranormal, and a Van Helsing, which is a monster killer. and she has been lied to a lot by her mother, who is dead. She moved to the town where her mother lived last to try and find out what all is happening. There's ghosts, there's funny times, but she just doesn't know a lot. It's very obvious that everybody knows things that she doesn't know, and they're not telling her. There's lots of talking in circles. Obviously, we get more and more of a viewpoint as we go along, but very entertaining writing. Really enjoy this author. Next, I read The King of Latoya, which is Queen's Thief #3 by Megan Whalen Turner. This is the next book in the series of the first book that I read this month. I gave it 5 stars. This is my favorite book in the series. Thus far, I still haven't read the final book. So we get a completely new point of view in the Queen's Guard. His name is Costas, and so we're kind of used to the way our main character, Jen, thinks and the things that he pulls, but now we're reading completely from the point of view of somebody who doesn't know anything about him and quite frankly can't stand him. And it's amazing. That's all I can tell you. I really can't tell you more, but it's a great YA fantasy series about a thief. Next, I read Dirty Sweet Wild, which is Bad Billionaires #2 by Julie Chris. I gave this 4 stars. This is a millionaire who's the best friend of the main character in the first book and the sister of the main character in the first book. She is a candygram stripper, and he is a disabled veteran who is now a millionaire. That's all you need to know. It's smutty, it's delightful, it's good. Next, I read Collision Course, which is Brothers #1 by Christina C. Jones. I gave this book 4 stars. Very cute novella. It's second chance. We have a Vegas showgirl and a millionaire. She did not get on board with the relationship. We got lots of smiley times throughout it, but she didn't get on board with the relationship until the very end. Next, I read The Stranger by Chance Christopher. I gave this 4 stars. 18 pages. It has a manga cover. I wanted to read manga. It's not manga, at least as far as I know. Manga is only like the graphic novel style, right? Like it's drawn. So there was no pictures in this, but it was male, one night stand, that's it. It was hot, it was 18 pages. That was the whole thing. It was on Kindle Limited, it was good. Next, I read Lights Out by Jody Bew. I got this Halloween recommendations from Morgan at Nothing Better Than a Book. I gave it 4 stars. It's single parents having a kind of second chance romance. They had a moment in high school and that was it. Now they're both single parents and they're taking their little girls trick-or-treating into school and they have a date and that's it. There are sexy moments, but no sexy time. Next, I read Property of Drax 1 and 2 by C.M. Owens, which is another pen name for Christy Cunning, who wrote Gypsy Blood, All the Pretty Monsters. I gave the first book 5 stars and the second book 4 stars. This is a motorcycle club romance. She is sold to the motorcycle club. He is the vice president and the son of the president, and is a dark romance, and yeah, motorcycle club. Next, I read Trick by Shay Sanders. This is a super short Halloween novella. It's about a blind date on a hayride. 4 stars. And I don't know what this was about because I have the same thing written here for this one as I did for Lights Out, and I don't think that they were both the same. I have no idea. It's a very short, smelly Halloween novella. Next, I read Oh Christmas Fling by Francesca Penn. I gave this 4 stars. This is a one-night stand with her boss. There's flirty moments, and then they don't speak to each other for months, and now it's Christmas time, and he's trying to convince her to give him a chance, and she does kind of drag it out. There is a separation for a few months, but besides that, very cute. Next, I read 8 by Rosie Adams. I gave this 4 stars. This was a super short, smutty novella that was inspired by Rosie Adams watching a chef vlogger. There is food involved in the sex, and I'm not a fan of that, but basically he's a private chef, shows up, she ends up being the only one there, and they have sexy times. Next, I read Lord's Fall, which is Elder Races #5 by Thea Harrison. I gave this book 5 stars. It follows the couple from the first book, which is a dragon shifter and an unknown half shifter, half human, and she steals from his hoard. He is the only dragon shifter, I believe, and he is the most powerful shifter in the entire world. He's thousands of years old, and finds out that she's his fated mate after he finds that she stole from him, and he cannot believe it. This is following them as they maneuver political intrigue, and they don't necessarily have the same priorities. And so we get both of their points of view, and we're mostly focused on world events, and then the ending is mostly about the couple. Next, I read Love and Other Nightmares by Jessica Gaziella. I give this 5 stars. It is super short. It is a zombie apocalypse dystopian second chance romance. Next, I read Blow, which is Suck Bang Blow #3 by Nikki Belair. I could not find this by searching Blow on Amazon. You had to actually search Nikki Belair and then click on her books, and then I was able to find it. I gave it 3 stars. It's a homeschooled, I'm homeschooled, so this is a bit of a pet peeve, but it's a homeschooled, super naive heroine. She's 22. She doesn't know what a BJ is. She doesn't know any of the things, and kind of a mafia-ish alpha male. She's there because her brother got them in debt. The same as usual. You know what it is. And he becomes obsessed with her instantly. And I thought there were some really weird plot points, and I honestly was deeply annoyed. The whole reason that she's 22 and knows nothing is because she was homeschooled. I'm sorry, but that is just not accurate and quite frankly annoys me. And that was it. That's all the books that I read in October. So many books, lots of novellas. Do any of them sound good to you? Some of them were amazing, so hopefully they do. I'm sorry if that was not the greatest of explanations, but it is what it is. Feel free to ask me about any book that you might be interested. Please leave me comments if you have recommendations for me. As always, I really appreciate you watching my video. Thank you so much. Bye.